Hey guys, it's Lemming Rush. Today we're going to be talking about something that no one ever talks about in this game. And that's maybe because they don't know it or because they've never really wanted to share what I've, in quotations, found. I'm being a bit corny here on purpose, but you know what I mean. So in this replay, we're going to talk about scouting on Malinovka. Now I'm going to use a couple replays to sort of support what I think. And my stance on this is that scouting on this map throws the game. Now the reason I think that is because well, you can just sort of watch what happens. In this case, they're going to send a scout down the field, and you're going to see what sort of happens to them. I'm going to the hill. The reason you want to take the hill on this map is because it gives you what's called map control. By controlling A0, you get shots on basically all the way down the zero line and across. So the hill is extremely powerful on this map. And even though it's not perfect, it has its flaws. Generally, you're going to find the outcome is decided there. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to the hill. Now you can see they sent their RU to F5, and you can sort of predict what's going to happen from their team's perspective. That RU is going to be spotting our heavies who are going to be like crossing the field and whatnot, and as a result, all their heavies on their team are going to be stopping to shoot. Now, that is going to be problematic for both teams because when heavies stop to shoot at something, they allow the fast tanks to have even more dominance on the hill, and in this case we're just going to prevent them from driving up the hill, period. So this is going to be a raffle stomp game, but I'm just going to show you how it sort of expires. You can see they've given us the hill at after about 80 to 100 seconds they start to actually play here. You can see only now do they sort of contest this area, and so like we have the hill. They didn't even contest us here, and I'm gonna theorize that that's simply because that the RU spotted all of them. They all stopped like right over down here or whatever to shoot at our heavies, and in the end that's gonna be what won us the game. So when you're playing the hill on this map, you don't really want to push down because you can see that their whole team's gonna be camping back here. So what I'm doing is I'm just waiting for someone to scout. You can see the 54 scouts, and then what I'm going to decide to do is I'm going to come to here. Now, this play, me just being here, gives us a huge amount of map control. You can see these guys have shots, and now I'm going to have side shots on them, and it really, 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 really puts pressure on these guys. They can't do much from their position, given my position, and it's pretty cool to see how just one tank can do all this. But by this point in time, the game is won. We've won the hill. We've got two tanks in this position right here. There's very little they can do. It's just sort of a matter of cleaning up. But the game was decided a couple seconds in. So that's like the gist of my strat. I'm going to show another replay and talk about the exact same thing. And that other replay, we're going to send a scout field, and you're going to see the effects of that. Alrighty, so here we have a 907 game. This is going to be a bit more obvious in the sense that we're going to have someone scout. You're going to see the effects it has on my teammates, and you're going to see the effects that it has on the hill and winning the hill. Now, this is going to be a win, but it's going to be a late game win. So in the sense that they don't play very well on the hill and they end up throwing away all their hit points, and that's why we win. So we win because of their mistake. But it doesn't really matter. This is to get the point across that scouting doesn't do well. So right now you're going to notice, I'm going to pause it right here. We've got a 1390 in this bush right here. Now I'm not going to show his name because I'm not trying to talk shit or anyone. But look at the effect that it has on our E5. Now if you look at their lineup, they've got an E5, a 57 heavy, tanks that are likely to be on the hill. The E5 had a great spawn, but he's sort of throwing it away by shooting at this irrelevant T49 light tank who's making a shitty play. And that's what scouts will do on this map. They will force, like, when a player sees a tank, they will stop to shoot at it, right? And that really messes up the timing. You're going to notice they don't send any scouts field, at least that we can see, and as a result their heavies are going to get to the hill way faster than us, and that's what's going to give them the game in a sense. So you're gonna see what I'm doing is I'm pushing the hill. I don't really I sort of expect that we should be okay on the hill, even though they've got the heavies. Normally heavies will be a lot slower to get here, but because they didn't have a scout, their heavies didn't have any reason to stop, and they're gonna be right here in front of me. So that's gonna put me in a tough situation. I can't expect to win a 4v2, especially when it's just me and an M486 right here. So eventually what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have to leave the hill. Now you're going to notice RE5 is still at A7, same with our mouse and IS4. Those things, it's sort of, I understand why they're so slow, but the E5 could be up right here and we could actually be contesting the hill. Instead, we're going to have to run away, and we're going to have to hope they make a mistake. So right now I'm sort of getting pissed because we just gave away an important part of the map without, being able to challenge it. And that's it is what it is, I guess. What I'm going to be doing right here is I'm running away, and the reason for that is once they have the hill, you can't put yourself in a position that's easy to like farm them. You can see I'm being, sort of salty in chat. It happens. This is normally why I try to play with my chat off, because things that seem obvious to me aren't obvious to everyone else. Such is life, I guess. All right, so if you're in a position where you've given up the hill and you're trying to defend it, this is probably the best place to put yourself. Now, this position becomes really hard to play the second they put someone here, but obviously they don't have that. As a result, we're going to be looking for shots on their T30 and whatnot. I don't feel the need to really speed this. Like, we don't have to watch this because it's just like sniping and supporting my teammates. But what you're going to see right here is our heavies slowly bleed away. They do the exact same thing. They slowly bleed away. But if they had one or two competent, like really good medium drivers who put themselves right here a lot sooner, would have been really, really hard for us to win this game, because our E5 and Mouse and Dias4 would have been in a crossfire. Now the heavies are trying to push into enemies who are above them. We've already given the hill. We sort of have to just cut our losses, I think, right here. Luckily, they don't have an arty, right? So it sort of works, but you can see they're giving away their hit points in this situation. That really is sort of what allows us to do okay right here. You can see the E5 is starting to fall back. He's got 2 marks, so he's not a bad player, but in this case I sort of feel like he could have done better. This video isn't, meant to criticize him or whatever, but it's just sort of giving commentary while this happens. Right now we've lost probably the strongest tier 10 medium in the game. You can see the Batshot went and killed himself. He did that to try to YOLO these guys right here. You can see he died right here. And this is the position that I would suggest if you're trying to defend the hill and they've won the hill. Luckily, our teammates have a Mouse for cover, but you're going to see this is such a huge stalemate, and the E5 pushing up is losing him hit points and whatnot. Suddenly they have a Cent 7-1 where he is, and that's going to put us in a tricky situation. I'm fast forwarding this because it's a fucking 15-minute replay, and the majority of this is just sort of me farming damage. You can see I've done 2400 and 2400. Now, in this case, we're pushing the hill into an E5. Again, I still don't really agree with this, but it is what's going to happen. They do have to worry about this Cent 7-1 behind them. So that guy's going to suppress the E5. You can see the E5's on like 600 hit points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide not to like worry about the hill. The game has progressed enough to a point where I can, reasonably guess where the majority of their team is. And this is what you have to wait for. If you cannot win the hill on this map, you can see we weren't able to do that. You need to sort of wait until the end game, and that's when you're going to be able to impact the fight. So you can see there's 6.5 minutes left. We need to do something. The hill obviously isn't working, but at the same time, they've also lost enough tanks like to where the map starts to open up. So what I'm going to be doing from this position is I'm thinking of pushing this south. Now I can do this because I know where their teammates are, right? Like they've got 5 tanks spotted up here, 2 down here. We know exactly where their entire team is. So this is like a safe play. You have to wait until the end game to make this kind of play, because otherwise there's going to be like one tank that you didn't expect camping in the base. So what I'm doing from here is I'm being a bit cautious, I guess is the right word. You can see I'm waiting for my teammates. I want to be pushing the south. I'm also here because I expected the T10 and T30 to be pushing up. You can see the T10 tries to push up. And that's sort of like what sparks my wanting to scout him. So I know exactly where he is. He hasn't been unlit for a while, and I'm going to put myself in these bushes here. That's going to allow me to keep him lit. Hopefully the SU-122-44 behind me will get shots, but he's actually not even going to be looking in this direction. So right here I'm noticing like this guy isn't looking. We can zoom in on him and you can see that he's not facing us. Eventually he might start turning around. He actually takes the lead on this flank, but I'm waiting for the M46 Patton because we've literally got 4 minutes left. You can see I typed that in chat. So chat is a really useful tool. A lot of people don't understand. You can see after I typed, you can see the SU-122-54 comes into the fight. It really helps if you're polite to your teammates, which is something I need to work on, but you can see when you're polite, sometimes you get a guy who's full HP who's willing to come help you out. So I'm going to start pushing this. I want to kill the T10 right here. What I'm doing right now is I'm sort of just using my DPM. I'm okay to take a hit right here because we've got 3.5 minutes. They control the hill. It's going to be very difficult for us to like win this in 3 minutes when they have the hills. So you can see that's what's going to happen right here. fighting my gun depression a bit, we can watch this in real time. And you can see I'm totally okay with taking a hit from the T-30. I've saved my hit points all game. It doesn't cost you as much as I thought it would, but you know, that's the result. So right now we've got 3.5 minutes. RE5 dies on the hill from a T-49. That's what, like, it's a really slow and painful death when you're just trying to live in A7, but typically you'll always die there, especially if they have arty. And right now we're just trying to like cap fast right now. So the plan from this position, because we don't have the hill, but they have given us the cap circle, this is the end game strat on this map, is for us to have an M46 and an SC-122-54 sit on the bushes on cap. Now, for whatever reason, the M46 doesn't get on cap, and that's going to make things really difficult. You can see us pushing into the T-30. There's a trick I'll go over in a training room in a future video to like try to get people to bait your tracks, but you can actually do it semi-consistently. I did that with the T-30. He bounced, and you can see their light tanks are going to be rushing to reset. So I end up killing the T-49. Obviously the 1390 is a huge threat. This T-30's, you know, going to put a shot into me. I've got HP, so I'm okay using my HP in this situation as long as it means I can you know, prepare to fight this Centurion 7-1. So you can see I've done 4k damage, 3.3k spotting, a 1390's clipping into my side. I'm in a crossfire here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up. I'm removing myself from this crossfire, and we would have won by now if the M46 had been on cap, but he isn't. So my goal is just to try to, you know, give our team time to cap out. Really, this is called screening. What that means is you're creating you know, a metaphorical screen for the enemies, making it hard for them to push in. Right now the scent is dead, so I can sort of use the the other scent for cover. And really, this is going to be the end of the game. You can see we kill the 1390, then we kill the E5, and that's the game. So, gonna go look in the map tactic. This game isn't really about the end plates. The E5 ends up doing a spectacular job damage wise, but the game, like, I had to do 4k spotting and 4k damage for this to even be close. I think that sort of like the replay illustrates my point. The E5 did a spectacular job. He has 2 marks. I'll post the end plates down in the description. But I think this game could have been won a lot easier if we had just like tried to contest the hill or something. So let's go take a look at the map tactic, and that'll be the video. Alrighty, so the simple form of what I think on this map happens is when you send a scout to scout the field, they spot all the heavies driving up to the hill, and that causes these guys right here to stop and shoot at them, which, you know, it gives them early damage, but in the end it actually allows them to get the timing on the hill. That's going to allow them to play held down and shoot at people who are driving into position. So that's like the short and sweet form. You can see on both replays when a scout was in the game, that happened, right? Like in this case, the E5 basically stayed back here to get a couple shots. That gave their 57 heavy and whatnot, and their E5 and whatnot, a significant advantage, even though it was only like 10 to 20 seconds. They got here way sooner than the rest of our team. So the result is that the team had to camp back here, and if they had a single arty, no possibility for us winning at all. So that's, maybe I should be quieter, but that's, I feel strongly about this you know, strat. If you disagree, feel free to let me know why down in the comments. But it's the same when they had their scout who scouted field. I would be sure that the rest of their team was just sitting over here waiting for shots on the people crossing. And as a result, that let us take the hill quicker in the 54 lightweight replay, and they were stuck down. One thing I wanted to cover before the video is over is I'd like to answer the question about hill being useful or not. So given my recent Himmelsdorf video where I basically said don't go hill, it's useless, I think it's a fair question. And the reason the hill is very helpful on this map is because timings, right? On Himmelsdorf, it's very easy to try to push the tracks if they don't have TDs. It's very easy to push the tank alley, you know, if they've got a lot of heavies who are likely to go hill. You have like 2 other viable options on Himmelsdorf. On this map, what do you have? The only possible option that I can think of other than playing the hill is, well, this one right here, but obviously you're driving in front of camping TDs, so it doesn't work. And this push here, which sort of works, but it doesn't give you anything, because what happens is like how do I move this? There we go. My experience in pushing the south is I just sort of get locked down back here, and then TDs will get safe behind these houses and just sort of camp you. So unless you've got like an IS-7's turret armor, and hopefully you don't get wrecked by Artie and whatever as you cross. I don't see the value of this play because you're pushing into camping TDs, and you can't really reasonably expect to win that. So the difference, like I said, is speed. When like what you saw is I opened up the south when I just pushed it, but that was because their whole team was dead. So I was able to push the south, get one or two people on Cap's screen, and that's why the south worked. It's not practical to do that endgame, and that's why the hill is sort of like where I typically go. And so that's just my sort of 2 cents on that question that probably a lot of people will be wanting the answer to. All right. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know down in the comments, and bye bye.